Hi, in this video we're going to show how you can use a UIView category to rotate a UI image view. The example we're going to use to illustrate this will be to create a sync button that when you press it, a sync image spins. So I'm going to do this in just a couple steps. The first step is going to be to import all of the spinning images that we're going to use. So let's do that first. And here we've imported them into our asset category. And then the next piece, we're going to jump into storyboards. And our UI is going to consist of 3 items, a stack view, and then our stack view is going to have 2 child items, which is going to be our image view that we're going to rotate, and then a button that we can press to help the rotation process. So let's first start with the stack view. Now, the stack view was introduced as part of iOS 9, and next we're going to do our image view. Now, this is the control that we're going to have those images that we just imported in. This is going to be their container, and then finally, let's get our button, and we're just going to put our button there. So the next couple of steps we're just going to do is to make this look nicer. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to come to our image view, and we're going to associate it with one of those images we just imported, and we're just going to set the aspect to fill for right now, or fit. And then our next thing we're going to do is we're going to just change our button text to something more meaningful for our example. So let's just call it synchronize. Then what we're going to want to do is just add a couple of points of spacing. So let's add about 5 points of spacing to make this look a little bit better. And then finally, we're going to want this to be positioned in the middle. So let's select our stack view and let's kind of eyeball it first. Then what we're going to just do is add some constraints and move it down so it's just about level. Now, at this point, we're ready to move on to the next part, which is going to be wiring up the controller to those items we just put onto our storyboard. We use Interface Builder to wire up our elements. So what we'll do here is we'll just first go and we'll create an outlet for our stack view controller, and we're just going to call this our sync container. Next, we're going to do the exact same thing for our image view, and we're just going to call this our sync image. And then finally, we're going to do the exact same thing for our button. And as you can imagine, we're just going to call this sync button. Now we have all of our controls mapped to outlets in our controller, and the rest of the example is going to be entirely done in our controller. So let's jump back into that. So the first thing we're going to do is close all of our interface builder pieces, and then we're going to focus on our view controller. Okay, in our view controller, what we see now is we have all of our outlets are there. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a UI gesture recognizer delegate, and we're going to need this for the very first thing, which is we're going to actually wire up our controls for our stack view and our button. We're going to set gesture recognizers, so when I tap it, it'll trigger an action. So I'm just going to add those in right here, and you can see we have handle sync tap. That's the method that we're going to be referencing, and I'll just add that down at the bottom. Now let's just discuss this for a quick second. We create 2 gesture recognizers. They're both pointing to the handle sync tap, and one's associated with our sync container, so that's our stack view control, and then the next one is with the button itself. You can't have one gesture recognizer used across, so we had to take we had to create two separate gesture recognizers. Now let's look at the handle sync tap here. Now what we have is a start spinning method. So our start spinning method is a convenience method, and let's just quick add that in. Now you can see here what we do is as soon as the user taps on either the stack control or the button, it'll fire this, and what we'll do is we'll switch the image to that spinning image, and then we'll call start rotating on our sync image, which is our image view. Now you'll notice that that is an extension method, and we'll jump into that in a quick minute. Going back down to the handle sync tap, you'll also notice we set a quick timer here, and then we dispatch out for about 3 seconds before we call stop spinning. The stop spinning method is just a convenience wrapper for calling the stop rotate on our UIImageView and then setting the image back. So kind of to go all the way through our controller, what we do is we on view load, we wire up our controls with our gesture recognizers. When the user taps on any of our controls, it'll fire the handle sync tap, and here we'll start spinning that image view, but what we'll do is we'll replace the image with a new image, and then we'll start rotating that image view to give that user that feeling that it's spinning. And then after a few seconds we'll stop, and we'll do the stop by first calling the stop rotate, and then what we'll do is we'll replace the image on that UIImageView. So before we run this, let's take a quick look at the extension methods that we've added to the image view. What we have here is we have a start rotating method, and it has an optional duration. So we default this to 1, but this will create that rotation animation, and it'll spin that full UIImageView. Then when stop rotating is called a little bit later in our method, it just resets that animation key and removes it so that the image will go back into place where it's supposed to be. So let's take a look at what this looks like when we build it and run it in the simulator. Now we just press the button and it starts to spin. Now I can also press anything else that's sitting in our stack view, and again it'll trigger the same actions. So this has just been a quick walkthrough on how you can rotate and spin a UIImageView and use this to provide some animations in your application. There's a sample code is out on GitHub along with a sample project, and look forward to your feedback.